How is everybody doing today? Hopefully good. I just wanted to say thank you for my 56 whole subscribers that are following my channel. I know technically it's not a lot for YouTube standards, but I really appreciate all of you. And thank you to all of the wonderful humans who have been commenting on my latest true crime videos. 99% of you are my family, but I still appreciate it. It makes my day. I think it's so cute. And for anyone new here, hello, my name is Cheyenne. On this channel, we now talk about true crime videos. But again, I'll probably say this 100 times. If you have anything specific that you want me to talk about, throw it out there, comment, whatever, and I will search it up. Okay, let's begin this video. So as I mentioned in my last video, I might be kind of talking about true crimes that happened in Canada, just because that's where I live, and so it just interests me more to talk about crimes that have happened in the country that I live in, but who knows? Maybe there will be something really fascinating in another country that I will one day want to talk about. We shall see. For now, we'll be talking about Canadian true crimes. In this video, we will be talking about Elana Fric. I'm just gonna hop in first by doing a little backstory about Elana. So Elana was born in 1977, and she was thought to be kind of this miracle child for her parents. Her mother had had a child in 1970, and then following that had had a couple miscarriages. So when Elana was born, it was just a great surprise. By the time Elana was in high school, she was super intelligent. She was an overachiever. She practiced Croatian dancing, which is actually like what her culture is. She's Croatian. And during the summer, she would work in a cornfield that was near Windsor, Ontario. Ontario is in Canada. Yes. Elana was beautiful. I think from what I could understand, people really viewed her as one of those girls that just had everything going for her. She had, she was a distance runner. She was smart, active, she danced. Like, she just was pretty much the whole package. And she just knew that she wanted to do something great with her life. It was just her dream. Like, she had all these ambitions, and she just knew that she was gonna make it. So then in 1999, she began medical school at the University of Ottawa. So Elana was playing pool in this rec room at the hospital when a neurosurgery resident, his name was Mohammed Shamji, was walking by and saw her from across the room and started asking people about her. So Mohammed Shamji was actually the son of this very distinguished surgeon, and his dad had actually even had an award named after him. So like this very famous surgeon. And much like his father, Mohammed was an academic superstar, and he even attended Yale, where he completed a master's in organic chemistry, which I can't imagine is easy. I've never taken organic chemistry, but I have not heard good things. And Mohammed is described as being shy, superior, reserved, awkward. And people said that he wore this like pinched, almost pained expression a lot, which is just a weird combination of things. Like, to be shy, reserved, awkward, and then also superior. Like, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like a weird combination, but that's that. Oh God. My contacts are bugging me so much. So Elana and Mohammed started going out, and she loved telling this story about how she barely even was given a second date with this man. Apparently they were playing pool at the hospital together, and Mohammed had asked her if she wanted to go for a drink. And it said that she was instantly infatuated with Mohammed, but he ended their first date by asking her if he could set her up with one of his friends instead. I don't really know how that played out, but they ended up seeing each other, so I don't know. They started dating, and Elana, again, was described as being just completely infatuated with Mohammed. She was totally in love with him from pretty much the beginning, from what it seems. She was completely awed by how intelligent she was and how he went to an Ivy League school. It said that she also, on some level, felt like she was unworthy of his love. And Mohammed's friends, when they talk about him, say that at the beginning of the relationship, he really didn't take their relationship seriously at all. I think this was more of a fling type situation for him. Elana would shower him with gifts, and she bought him this big golf set, and Mohammed barely even put any effort into the relationship. He didn't really meet her friends. Just the contrast, it seems, from how she took the relationship to how he did are just completely different. And he didn't even attend her medical school graduation, even though they were dating. He said that he couldn't attend because he was sick, but Elena later found out that it wasn't because he was sick. He just decided he wanted to go out with his friends more. So if that isn't a clear red flag, I don't know what is. And I think just because of the way he was treating this relationship, Elena tried to break up with him twice. Like twice they ended the relationship, and both times he persuaded her to come back to this relationship, which to me seems kind of like a control thing. Like, why would you, it's that in itself seems like a red flag, you know? Like, you don't treat her right. You act like you don't care about the relationship, and then when she breaks up with you, you're like trying to get her to come back. It just doesn't seem right. But alas, here we go. So in 2004, Elena brought Mohammed home with her to Windsor for Easter weekend, which was the first time that her parents were ever going to meet him. Her parents' name were Joe and Anna, and it said that they were very unimpressed when they met Mohammed. They found him to be aloof and pretty antisocial. Like they weren't getting good feels from him. And even during that weekend, Elana and Mohammed had gotten in a fight at her parents' house. A few months later, after this first meeting with the parents, Elana found out that she was pregnant. So Mohammed was put in this very uncomfortable position, I guess you could say. His parents were fairly traditional, and they were Muslim, and he just knew that his parents would be furious if he had a child out of wedlock. But he was also afraid to tell his parents that he intended to wed Elana. They kind of expected that their son would marry within his faith. Eventually, he decided that marrying her was the lesser of the two evils, and so they began planning a wedding. So they had to have two different ceremonies just to satisfy both parents, because Elana's family and Mohammed's family were both religious, and so they wanted weddings within their own traditions and their own faith. So they ended up having two ceremonies. And then immediately after the wedding, Elana and Mohammed moved into this small little house on Scout Street in Ottawa. S words are so hard for me. Scout Street. Yeah, anyways. Elana began a residency in family medicine at the hospital in Ottawa, and Mohammed continued doing his neurosurgery. After a fairly difficult pregnancy, Elana gave birth to their daughter in January of 2005. So even after the baby was born, it's said that Mohammed was still very distant. He was withdrawn and was just focused on his work. Even when Mohammed would come home from the hospital, he would just instantly run upstairs to continue his studies. Yeah, he barely paid attention to his wife or his daughter. And Mohammed and Elena continued to get into small fights. So it's said that there was one weekend where Mohammed's parents came over to visit, and Elena was upstairs breastfeeding the baby. And Mohammed got mad at her because she didn't come downstairs to greet them. Obviously, because she was upstairs breastfeeding a baby. And so they had an argument about that. Elena said that she felt like she always had to walk on eggshells around Mohammed. And Elena even started opening up and telling family and friends that, Mohammed had anger problems. Mohammed would ridicule her and make fun of her for gaining weight after her pregnancy. He would call her mother a cow, and he would push away the food that she'd made for him, saying, "This is shit." So yeah, it seems like Mohammed is a great guy. Definitely a keeper. So a month after the baby was born was the first time that Elena's parents heard that she wanted a divorce from Mohammed, or it was something that she was starting to think about. They didn't actually get a divorce, obviously. Elana decided to stick with it. Then in the spring of 2005, Mohammed was accepted into this prestigious medical engineering PhD program at Duke University in North Carolina. And Elana took advantage of this opportunity and ended up enrolling in the school's master program in public policy. So the couple prepared to move in the fall, and it's around this time that the relationship also began to get violent. So Elena reported that Mohammed had gotten into a fight, and Mohammed attacked her and ended up splitting her lip during this attack. She took the baby, went into hiding, and stayed with her friend's condo. And Mohammed was looking for her. You know, he was calling around trying to figure out where they had went. And after 3 days, he finally agreed to leave the house so that Elena would come back. Elena returned to the house and was still so afraid that Mohammed might show up that she had a family friend actually guard the house with her for a couple days until their parents arrived. And because of this, Mohammed faced 3 criminal charges. He was charged with assault against Elena and 2 charges of uttering threats of bodily harm. And so this incident was difficult, obviously, for Elena, but it also seems like it was maybe the start of a turning point for Mohammed. He lost control of his wife in this instance, or I feel like he kind of started to see that he didn't have control over her. And there was a very big possibility that he might not even be allowed to go to Duke because they might not let him cross the border. I think he was worried that he would never be able to practice medicine again, even if all of this went through. And so because of that, he decided to reconcile with his wife. So they worked it out. And on July 27th, the Crown withdrew the criminal charges against Mohammed. Instead had him enter a peace bond, which, if I'm remembering right, is basically where you have to agree to keep the peace so you can't do anything like this again. I don't really know, I don't understand. I don't really see this being a thing that would work. I don't fucking know. Maybe these are very effective. To me, this doesn't seem like it's a very effective outcome, but what do I know? So anyways, he agreed and said that he understood that his wife had a good reason for fearing him and for fearing that he might do this again. And so he agreed to go on 12-month probation. And yeah, everything resolved just in time for Mohammed to go on to his PhD. So Mohammed was allowed to cross the border, was allowed to go to Duke. Good for him, following his dreams. And a few months later, Elena and their daughter followed him. And again, Elena's family really couldn't understand why she was staying with him. She was a smart, beautiful, educated woman. She really had everything going for her. And it was very hard for her family to try to understand why she would even stick with this man, because it's clear that she really didn't need him. Some people have speculated that maybe she was just drawn to his status and his pedigree, because obviously he was also going somewhere. He was going on to be this great neurosurgeon, and his father was super accomplished. So some people say that maybe that's why she stuck around. Maybe also it was just because she loved him and because she saw brief glimpses of what their future could be, in times where he was happy. And that's something that she just stuck around for. So they had moved, had gotten a new home, and this is when Elena and Mohammed started to fall into a routine. They started running together. They were both working as doctors. They started doing marathons. They took up jiu-jitsu together. And then on November 5th of 2007, Elena gave birth to their second daughter. And to her co-workers, Elena was always praising Mohammed. She would talk about how brilliant Mohammed was and how she was nothing compared to him, which really baffled her peers because they regarded her as being superior to him. When she was out with other people, it was said that he would always be calling her, asking her where she was, who she was with. He never gave her time alone. He made her chauffeur him around, and when people asked why she was doing this, she just said, oh, Mohammed doesn't like to drive. So again, there were just these obvious warning signs, I think, when you look back and you see the whole timeline. There's warning signs about what their relationship is and how Mohammed is. He seems like a very controlling individual. After Elena and Mohammed both graduated from Duke in North Carolina, they ended up moving back to Ottawa in 2009. And Elena started her medical practice at Ottawa Hospital, where she had a reputation as being this beloved family physician. And Mohammed continued his training in neurosurgery. And even at work, like, Mohammed was known as having just incredible bedside manner and being this great physician. And he even won the Patient Care Award one year. And around the same time that Mohammed won this award is when him and his wife really started getting into social media. And this is something that Elena talked about a bit, was that her and Mohammed really chose how they wanted their lives to look online. Like, they really portrayed this ideal version of themselves and acted like they had this perfect marriage and this perfect relationship, when in fact that's not really what their life was. And I mean, this is something that you see a lot in social media in general, is people really like put out the best versions of themselves online and like try to make it seem like their life is perfect and nothing's wrong and they're perfect, and they edit things. And social media life in general is just very fake to begin with. And this is something that Elena and Mohammed also fell into. Elena did, though, tell one of her friends that Mohammed had complete control over social media. He had control over what friends she could have and what she posted and everything. Like, he controlled every aspect of her life. So behind the scenes, life was very different from what was portrayed on social media. Mohammed had complete control over even what kids his daughters could play with. If these children didn't live up to his standards, his daughters weren't allowed to be friends with them. And I mean, I think the kids are pretty young at this time, so I don't really know what standards he's going off of when kids are like 8, 9, like I don't know. But he would also criticize his wife's parenting and tell her that she needed to do more and she needed to do better. He constantly called her stupid and useless and told her that he should have just left her when he had the chance and that he would have been better off without her. So in 2011, Mohammed moved to Calgary, which is in Alberta, Canada. They're back in Canada, where he started doing a fellowship at the Foothills Medical Center in what would eventually become his specialty, which was spinal surgery. While he was in Calgary, Elena found out that he was actually having an affair with one of his colleagues there. She found emails that confirmed this relationship, and there was a credit card trail as well. And Mohammed had actually paid for and made plans to run this race in Calgary with his mistress on Mother's Day. So Elena found all this out, ended up confronting Mohammed, and he didn't deny it. He was very upfront about it. He was just like, yeah, this is happening. This is a thing. And even after this, her friends were like, leave this man, like leave him. Like, at this point, you know, they were just like, why are you staying with him? I don't think anyone really understood it. Apparently, she had said that she felt like she had invested too much into this relationship already. You know, they had 2 children together, and she just loved him, and she desperately wanted him to love her back, which is definitely sometimes normal, especially when you're looking at abusive relationships. There's also something called the cycle of violence, which I'll put in here. And I think for a lot of people, when looking at domestic violence cases and when looking at abuse, it's hard for people to wrap their heads around unless you've actually been in that situation. People are always like, oh, why don't you just leave? Like, just go. And it's not always that easy. And especially when the abuser is constantly like putting you down and calling you names and telling you that you're worthless. It not only like starts to make you feel like you're worthless, but you're almost like constantly wanting their approval. Like, this person's always telling you you're gonna be nothing. And so you're like, no, I'm gonna show you. Like, I'm gonna show you. And you're chasing this thing that's never gonna happen. So yeah, they stayed together. Mohammed said that he would stop having this affair. And then shortly after, he got his dream job in Toronto. So the couple planned their move to Toronto to follow Mohammed's dreams, which meant that Elena had to give up her job. So they bought this huge house, not even house, mansion, this $1.5 million mansion in Toronto, and Mohammed started his dream job. It's said that Elena wasn't happy with this change, and you know, she even told friends, hey, like, I went through all of the schooling, I don't want to just treat sore throats. And then a few months later, Elena found out she was pregnant again, and they ended up having their 3rd child. And Elena told her friends that she was hoping that this third child would almost rebirth the relationship and bring her and Mohammed closer together. So on October of 2013, their son was born. And for about 2 years, it said that their relationship actually got better and calmed down for a bit. And then in 2015, Elena also moved careers and started working a more challenging position at the Scarborough Hospital's Family Medical Unit. That was really hard for me. And as she started to really thrive in her job is when her and Mohammed's tension in their relationship also started to reawaken. So I don't know if there is a correlation there, but that's what happened. There was even an incident when the family was on their way to a skiing trip in 2016. Mohammed had called Elena's parents and told them that she had ended up cutting her hand open. He said that it was an accident and she'd like slammed this glass down on the counter and it sliced her hand. And Elana had told friends that she cut her hand chopping vegetables. And then she also told a different friend that she had cut her hand on a glass while she was doing dishes. So I don't know how she cut her hand, but I don't think it was any of those 3 reasons. They also got in another fight where they began arguing about Mohammed's past affair, I believe. I'm not sure about this because it just says affair, so I don't know if this was a current one that he was having or if it was a one in the past. I'm going to assume that it's a past one. Anyways, they got in this fight about the affair, and Mohammed is reported as saying, "She's a better lover than you." And then Elana told friends that during this fight that Mohammed actually began choking her. During this time, it said that their relationship really was a roller coaster. They went from having good times to really bad abusive times. But on social media, they displayed a very happy, perfect life. I think after some time, Elana just really got sick of everything that was happening. And she decided that this was probably it for them. She told Mohammed that she wanted a divorce. I don't know if it was due to lack of control or if he like genuinely cared, but apparently this panicked Mohammed and he begged her to stay and promised her that he would change this time for good. She agreed, but she also had suspicions that Mohammed was cheating again. These suspicions were later confirmed. You know, Elena's talking to one of her friends about this, and one of her friends jokes around that she should also start having an affair then if it's something that Mohammed is doing. Which is what she did. She met another doctor who also had a wife and children. And yeah, they started having an affair. And apparently he was very sweet and made her feel desirable again. By the end of the fall, she was over waiting for Mohammed's change. And she ended up contacting a lawyer to start getting divorce papers ready. She also told this lawyer that in October, Mohammed had assaulted her again, and it's something that she had never told anybody. And yeah, she was just like done with it all. She was done with the violence, she was done with Mohammed, and she was ready to get out and start a new life. In November, she was like officially done with the relationship. Mohammed had given her apparently this big box of chocolates to try to convince her to stay, which like I don't know. I would say that if you're gonna act like that, treat somebody like that, you might need to try a little harder than just a box of chocolates, but the fuck do I know. She had the lawyer contact Mohammed and just let him know what the expectations were for the divorce. And she even moved all of her stuff from their bedroom down into the basement. But Mohammed kept on bringing her stuff from the basement up into the bedroom. So he was definitely resistant to this divorce. And then one night, Elena was giving their baby a bath when Elena's mom gave her a call. Well, they were talking about the divorce, and Anna told Elena to just be careful with everything. And Elena said very reassuringly, you know, he's not going to do anything stupid, and he's not going to do anything to jeopardize his career. Like she knew that he wouldn't do something to ruin his career. That same night, Elena made another call on her phone. She dialed 611. It is believed that she had attempted to call 911, but had missed the button by just a couple of millimeters. And that very next morning, nobody could get a hold of her. Her family called and texted her throughout the day and received no response. And when they asked Mohammed where she'd went, he kind of gave them variations of the same response each time. He kept on telling them that she left that night with a suitcase to go meet up with her new boyfriend. And you know, Anna, who's Elena's mom, really became panicked. Like, she just felt like something was wrong. She just knew that something wasn't right, and ended up calling one of Elena's friends, who was also her neighbor, to go over and investigate what was going on. Her friend Allison went over to the house, peeked in the garage, and saw that Elena's car was still there. And so Allison phoned Elena's parents to tell them that her car was there, and they ended up calling the police. They also immediately packed a bag and drove through the night in order to get to the house. Ended up arriving at 5 a.m. and just let themselves into the house. And they immediately noticed that 2 of the rugs that were in the main kind of area of the house were missing. And that's when Mohammed decided to come downstairs, where he said to the parents, "So you're the ones that called the police." Obviously, because Elana was missing, police did a search. And that same afternoon is when they found her body. She hadn't left, like Mohammed said that she had. And they found her by the Humber River in Kleinberg. And they found her inside a suitcase that her mother had actually bought her. She was naked, dressed in pajamas, and almost all of her hair had been cut off. And her face was so swollen that her parents couldn't even recognize her. I don't know why he cut her hair off. I don't know what he did with her hair. It just seems like a weird thing to do. Like, I don't know if he saved it. I don't know. But her parents were the ones that had to identify her. It was said that she died from manual asphyxiation and blunt force trauma to the head. That next day, Mohammed was at a coffee shop where he was arrested by police. And Elena's funeral was held on December the 17th at St. Francis Church in Windsor, which is where she was baptized, confirmed, and married. And while they awaited trial, Elena's parents moved into the house to take care of her children. During all of the court hearings, Mohammed gave this speech.
Mohammed's sentencing, he was given the chance to address the court. He stood up and said, "Your Honor, I killed my wife. There are no words to express the remorse and shame I have." He went on to talk about what a great friend and wife Elena was. Then he addressed his children, 2 who were in the courtroom. "I have devastated your lives and I have hurt you immeasurably. I can only say how sorry I am. I hope the memory of your mother will help you be brave and supportive of each other as you navigate the horrible circumstances I have created for you. I don't know how I have created such pain and anguish. I reflect back that night I should have killed myself and not Elena. That would have been the only justice."
And yeah, he was given a life sentence of 2nd-degree murder without the possibility of parole for the first 14 years. His medical license was also revoked, naturally. And yeah, that is it. That is the case of Elana Fric. It just shows that, like, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, anyone can be a victim to domestic violence. And unfortunately, this is something that happens quite often. Like, when someone is in an abusive relationship and are trying to leave the relationship, like, that time between them, like, telling the person they're gonna leave and actually leaving is the most dangerous. Like, it is there's a high likelihood that that individual or that abuser is going to cause serious damage to the victim because, you know, they're losing that control and they just want to do anything to keep the control that they have over the individual and keep the power that they have. Just sad. Sorry, my contacts have just been bugging me this whole time. It's been so hard to see. yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know. Give me feedback or ideas down in the comment section. I obviously always read them because I usually get like maybe one comment a video, so I'm here to read them. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, a wonderful evening. As always, please comment, like, share this with other people, and I will see you guys next time. Okie doke. Bye-bye.